After Christmas every year, we have a time just for us personally where we fast and pray. And during that time, we really felt like God was making it clear to both of us that it was time, to start this church. The biggest thing that I probably dealt with was just the fear of moving away from everything that was safe. Our family, secure job at a church. I think God really just relieved those fears and gave us peace as we started moving forward in the process. We never really had doubts, but we definitely, at the beginning, there were fears that we had.
As a wife, I feel like your calling has to be just as strong. You have to support your husband's dreams and ideas, probably when no one else does. I believe whenever we got here, if we wouldn't have been so sure of this calling, we would have just gone home. No one else really got what we were doing. Sometimes family didn't get it. Sometimes I would depend on him and sometimes he would depend on me. Being willing to support him and love him and just do the work, sometimes when no one else got it, we had to believe in each other.
Mm-hmm. So we began a process of talking with the BGCO church planning arm, and we talked with a guy that really helped us understand the process, and that really helped us kind of know what our next steps were. I just got on the website and I just kind of followed the steps that were on there, filled out all the online stuff.
You will fill out things about just your leadership style, your personality, your personal testimony.
Look into your financial status.
Right, and it kind of feels maybe a little bit
You're exposed,
but it is, you want to have all these things in order, because it does matter that you are spiritually and financially and emotionally ready to do this, because this is, it's a pretty intensive and it's a challenging position to be a church planner.
I think a lot of it we did together. There was a lot of it that it just made sense for us to sit down together and do, and it was not difficult. It did take time to really do a good job and be honest on those things. I think that it's so important to be honest versus trying to say something that, you think someone wants to hear. It's really important just to be dead honest on it. At assessment, you arrive at Falls Creek, and it is a beautiful place that is relaxing, and you walk in and begin to meet other church planners. And so for us, that was super fun to begin talking with other people that are on the same journey as us. And then, there's times where there's sessions and there's free time. We went on a lot of walks together.
Sometimes you'll have to speak, and then other times you'll be in small groups. You do have to give your testimony about how you came to Christ, and then you have to practice leading someone to the Lord.
I had to put together basically the vision of our church. What is this church going to be like? Who are we trying to reach? Even where did we feel like God was calling us to go?
We were praying a lot. We were, asking God to give us strength, because it was a lot.
I think it is not necessarily a comfortable situation, because it's not normal, but I never felt interrogated at all. And for me, actually, the whole process was encouraging.
It affirmed our gifts and our ability to minister to people, and we really felt affirmed as church planners.
So Friday morning, we woke up with excitement but unsurety of what our next step was.
You are just with your spouse, and you go into a room. It's very private, and you're not with all of the assessors. There's just a few that you're with.
Then the assessors opened up a notebook of all of the different exercises that we had gone through and really talked through with us kind of how we did in their eyes, and really talked through also just who we are, our personalities and our spiritual giftedness and those things, and then walk through really both of us and how we work together even, and our calling, and they just kind of put it all on the table for us to see.
we knew that we could either get recommended with conditions, or not recommended at all. So it was a little bit unnerving to just kind of think about, what would we do after this if we weren't going to church plant, because we had really thought that that's what we were supposed to be doing.
There's 16 different building blocks that they are kind of looking at, so it's not just random what they're looking for in a church planter. Each person is different and how that comes out, but they're really looking to see, can you have an evangelistic conversation with someone? They're looking to see, are you good with people? Are you able to start new things? So there's a lot of very specific things they're looking for. They recommended us, which was exciting.
I don't know if it was apprehensive or if it was like, they believe in us. Okay, here we go. We're gonna actually do this, because it was such a dream before, and then all of a sudden we're getting to do what we've dreamed about doing.
It sort of lined up all the reasons why they said yes, and it was just so awesome to see God put all these things together, put us together and put where we're going and all these different 16 things, that you have these things that it takes to be a church planter. You really get to know the people that you're going through this assessment with, other potential planners. And so it was hard to watch some people get a no in some ways, because you care about them, but it also was good to see that the process works. That doesn't mean they shouldn't be in ministry. It doesn't mean that God doesn't have a plan for their life. It just means that this is not their next step. We did a large launch strategy kind of church, and we also are a parachute drop church, which means that you move to a city where you've never lived before and you don't know anybody. And so I needed some specific training for those two things. It helped me with helping me really know what my next steps were as a planter, and help me understand kind of some businessy side of things that I did not really, had not read about and did not understand at that point. Kyle is my church planting coach. He is about 3 years ahead of me and started a church about an hour from here. Every other Friday, he calls me and checks on me. We have a friendship too. It's more than just a coaching relationship. We've become really good friends, and I feel really comfortable talking to him about anything, and I know that he's not gonna tell me what to do. He is gonna let me brainstorm, and he's gonna give me ideas, but he's never told me what I need to do. And I really appreciate that about him, and feel like he's been such a supportive person in not just my ministry life, but in my life. He's checking on me, making sure that I'm, spending time with my wife and spending time with my kids, and making sure that I'm a healthy person. One of the things that was really valuable for me as a church planter is that he invested in my team. And so he said some things to my team that it was good for him to say it versus me. And he was able to encourage them in a way that I couldn't, and I really appreciated that. I have really appreciated the way that this whole process has gone, but specifically the care part of it, and that's because we have received cards at our house, our kids' birthday cards even, and we have just really appreciated calls, texts. I've received books even from the BGCO. Hey, you should read this book. This would be really helpful. And all those little things really mean a lot. It makes it personal. This is not just a business they're pushing you through, but we really do feel like we're taken care of, and that we're valuable as people and church planters both. And so we really have appreciated that. What's different from the BGCO and some other church planting organizations is they are just investing in you. And it's not something that you have to return to them. But part of that commitment is that you're going to give through the cooperative program, which we would do anyways. And we also give to our association. And so as a church, we tithe, and that's where it goes. And so we love that, because we're doing missions and we're helping start other churches and so many other things through the cooperative program that really we want to model as a church to our people. We had 13 months of living here before we launched, and I think we needed every single day. I think we didn't realize how much we needed that time to prepare. But I think when you're building relationships take time. And for us, the first thing that we needed to do was meet as many people as possible. Just anywhere where there was people doing anything, we went there. And so we went to basketball games, football games. Megan started running with some ladies in our neighborhood to get to know some people. I worked at a coffee shop for a time period, really just to get to know people. And that was really awesome. There's people that go to our church now that are from those relationships during that year. And then really we spent a lot of time outside on our front porch, meeting our neighbors, inviting people into our home, and really made it a priority to ask people to come into our lives versus just waiting for people to come to us. I mean, we really were intentional about everything we did as a family.
One of our kids who's in kindergarten, he at school, he's super excited about what we're doing. And so he just walked up to a teacher in the hallway and said, "You should come to our church." And this was before we had launched. And so he told the teacher about it, and she came up to me and I invited her. I said, "Sure, I mean, we're gonna need help. And right now we're in this pre-launch phase, so we're just doing Bible studies, but you're welcome to join." And so she is now one of our teachers, and she was disconnected from the body. She grew up in church, but just for various reasons hadn't been.
5 years, she said.
And she felt like, she said it was a real spiritual battle. Can the Lord still use me? And I got to just walk alongside of her and say, yes, I know that my son, felt the need to go up to you and talk to you, and that you obeyed. And so we've just gotten to walk that out together, and it's been a really neat thing. It was very easy after making those relationships to tell people why we moved here, and just people out of those relationships, those people became part of our launch team.
We kind of thought that we would come and there would be some Christian people that want to help us start this church. That's not really what happened for us. It was more of we showed up, we loved our neighbors, and they wanted to be a part of our church but had no spiritual background. A lot of them did not have a spiritual background.
They were disconnected.
Or they're so disconnected from God or church or whatever. Yeah. And so we really did just as much discipleship with those people as we did, hey, this is how our church is going to be, and training them and getting them ready as a launch team. So it's kind of both at the same time. I shared my faith over and over and over. I shared my story of my, how I gave my life to Christ and what God has done in my life, and shared the gospel over and over and over. And so if you feel like God is leading you to church plant, man, you've got to know your story and be able to tell it over and over and over. Just be ready for that. So launch day for our launch team was something we'd been working for and talking about forever, it seemed like. And you've been inviting, and then to see people actually walk in the door and experience God, it was an amazing day for all of us. For our launch team, it was a day of celebration. So if you're thinking about church planning, if you're watching this video, I would just encourage you to really trust the process, because the people that are helping you walk through this process, they have your best interest in mind, and they really are good at what they do. And so I would encourage you, if you feel like God is moving in your heart at all, to go through the process. And if it's not a good fit for you, that's okay. You will know for sure that this is not what God wants you to do. God will use this process to show you what His next steps are for you in your life.